Welcome back to the Master Your Money podcast with me, Marini Jackson, your guide to mastering credit, building wealth, and creating financial freedom. Let's dive into today's episode. Today, we will be talking about having credit confidence and how to boost your credit score. So, there are 5 keys that you need to understand that impact you raising your credit score. The first is your payment history with your creditors. That makes up 35% of your credit score. And with the most recent 24 months being the most important. So this means you want to make sure you're paying your bills on time versus having delinquencies and late payments. As I shared in the previous episode, that when we're not budgeting, that it can lead to late payments. Late payments come with fees. There are late fees associated with that. So it can be a cycle with spiraling if you're not paying your bills on time. The second factor is your credit utilization. If you have a an available credit amount of $1,000, you want to make sure that you are using 30% or less of that credit to make sure that it's not negatively impact your credit utilization is not negatively impacting your credit score. So again, with the example of you having $1,000, you do not want to use $999 of that because that leaves you with almost 100% utilization of your credit. One thing you can definitely do is, one thing I should say I personally learned, is that when you have multiple credit cards, and I am not instructing you to get multiple credit cards, but if you're someone who has multiple credit cards, it's taking in consideration the total amount of credit. So for instance, if on one card you have $1,000 limit and your utilization currently may be $500 of that $1,000. If you have another credit card and that credit limit, is higher, then that 30% percentage of your score of your credit utilization is based on the total dollar amount, not per credit card. The third factor is the length of credit history that you have, and that simply means how long have you had an account? I have relatives and I've had acquaintances that I've spoken with, and I understand their frustration of, I've had this account, it took me a while to pay it down and pay it off. But the worst thing that they've said is, well, when I pay it off, I'm just closing the account. And I tell them, please do not do that. If you've had that card for a long time, for instance, if you had it for 5 years, 10 years, you've built up a long credit history and presumably, hopefully good credit history with that particular company. And when you close that account suddenly, then you lose all of that good payment history. And that, of course, as I mentioned, comprises 15% of your credit score. Also, 10% of your credit score takes into factor new credit inquiries. If you ever gone on Amazon or you've gone to perhaps your favorite department store or their website, Sam's Club, Walmart, TJ Maxx, various companies, one of the things that the associate, especially if you're in person, but also with companies online, they will ask you if you want to save 10% or save a certain dollar amount by applying for a credit card with that company. If you know that your credit score is not the strongest, I would opt out of agreeing to have my credit run, which is going to be a hard inquiry, which impact which will impact your credit score. Instead of having a hard inquiry hit your credit and impact your credit score, you can sign up for their, most companies have some type of loyalty program where you can get coupons and other incentives, and that in most cases saves you the same amount of money, or in some instances it may save you even more by signing up for the coupons, discounts, loyalty programs with those companies. Also, if you are applying for a mortgage or a, a car loan, then you want to make sure that if you're looking in price shopping or things of that nature, or looking to get funding for those purchases, you you do have a short window where you can, basically shop around, and it will count as one inquiry and not multiple inquiries. And then the final 10% of your credit score is your credit mix, the types of credit that you have. If you have installment loans, such as a car loan or a home loan, and revolving credit. Now, I was working with my mom to help her build her credit score, and the issue wasn't that she, was care careless or reckless with her credit. She simply paid everything off, and that impacted her credit score. So to remedy that, we, made sure she had different types of credit. Essentially, she, got a credit card, and that helped to boost her credit score, because when you have no credit, then you have to be in the game. I'm just going to be honest. You have to use credit and manage that credit wisely in order to have a strong score. But I've met individuals who say, no, I buy everything in cash. Then when they need to make a large purchase, they don't have a strong credit score. So that's just one tip you can use. So remember, those are 5 factors that impact your credit score, with the the largest percentages being your payment history, your on-time payments, and then your utilization of credit. So to see improvement with your credit score, the first thing I would recommend that you do is go to annualcreditreport.com, and you can request a free copy of all 3 of your credit reports from the 3 credit bureaus: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. When you get the credit report, you can either opt to receive it by postal mail, or you can opt to download it from that particular website. And when you do so, you definitely look to make sure all of the information on your credit reports are accurate. If you see anything that's not accurate, for instance, if there's an account that you didn't open, you want to reach out to that particular credit bureau immediately, so they can, and dispute that so that they can investigate it on your behalf. Also, as I mentioned with my mom, with simply, diversifying her credit mix, adding um, a credit card to her repertoire, that, helped her. Also, if you have a strong and long credit history, do not, I repeat, do not cancel those cards. There's some creditors, some credit card companies, they may, I don't want to say attempt, if they see that you're not using that account, some companies will close the account. But you want to, definitely read the fine print, contact that credit card company, using the number most likely on the back of your card to find out, whatever terms and conditions that company has. Credit utilization, make sure that if you see that your utilization is starting to get higher than 30%, higher than 50, 75% utilization, and you have a strong credit score, you can contact your creditors, your your credit card company, and request a spending limit increase. Now, this was years ago. I haven't seen the emails so much, or I may just be missing them. But years ago, when I first became a credit card holder with Chase, I'm not sure if this is the same with all companies, but they would occasionally send me emails, just asking and to verify my income to see if it changed, and it always did, from working my job and getting like, what do they call it, not bonuses, like pay increases. And with me providing that information, you know that company raised my credit limit, which, if you're someone who's may have a higher currently have a higher utilization, that can help improve that ratio without you having to immediately throw a lot of money, which some people may not have a lump sum to pay down their credit card. So that's a strategy that you can use. One thing I recommend, if you do decide to request a credit limit increase, I do have a credit card with my credit union. I can simply go online and not necessarily have to talk to anybody and request a credit limit increase that way as well. But one thing I do want to advise you on is, if you are seeking a credit limit increase, you want to find out from the card provider company that if you are requesting a limit increase, whether or not you will have a hard pull to your credit for them to determine whether or not you will be able to receive a credit limit increase, and then also how much of a credit limit increase, because you may be asking for an increase, but you may not get a significant sum. So if an extra maybe $5,000 to your credit limit would help your utilization, or 10,000, whatever the case may be, find out all of that information before you start making the request. And I'm definitely sure that that company would be happy to answer all of your questions about making a credit limit increase to your card. And you may want to also ask whether they periodically automatic or they initiate requests, or information requests to find out, like for me, about your income, or if it's always going to be generated by the customer. So those are just some tips that will definitely help you with making sure that you are you know, informed, but also aware of ways that you can raise your credit score. If this has been helpful, if these tips have been helpful to you, I do have a coaching program called the Master Your Money program, where you and I will work together, based on your financial goals, and we will go through my Master Your Money framework to help you to improve, to help you reach your financial goals, essentially. If you go to my website, www.virtuefinancialsolutions.org, you can book a free consultation or free strategy call with me, and we can sit down and talk about your situation, your goals. Because one thing I do not do as a coach is just give, blanket information and say just do this, because I need to know, a bit more about, the background, how you got where you are, and just, find out some more information to, be able to assist you. So I hope that this information has been helpful to you. And I want to thank you again for tuning into the Master Your Money podcast. And as I said, if today's information has helped you, be sure to subscribe. You can also like and share this podcast so that, and I think I said subscribe, but if I didn't, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a new lesson on mastering your money. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your leave your reviews or in the comments area below, and share this podcast with a friend who you know is ready to build their financial freedom too, so that way you have a power partner in this financial journey. And if you're ready to take the next step, visit me again at virtuefinancialsolutions.org to learn more about my coaching program, find, resources to help you, and also you can book that strategy call as well, so we can dive deeper into helping you personally with your finances. Until next time, remember, you don't just manage money, you master it. This is Marini Jackson signing off.